This is a PowerWorks podcast short with Glenn Power and me, James Pikeway. It's good to fire a little warning out for people about car washes. And this is just keep in mind when you're going into these car washes. And I say this only because I had some sensor failures about a month ago on the old Goat, actually. And it was to the point where it was like, yeah, we got to take this into the garage. And then it stopped. But the sensor failures happened after a car wash. And the nearest that I can figure is wherever the sensor is got wet, or multiple wetness, and then multiple things triggered with it. I was watching, so just beware of where you do, how you're getting your car washed. And the reason I say that is sometimes you get it, people are pressure washing underneath the vehicle. They're just taking everything
prejudice, just blasting everything.
Just blasting.
Yeah.
But the vehicles tend to be running. Also, I've seen a lot of these where they just leave the vehicles running because they do. So it's hot. You've got your exhaust is easily going to get water in it if they fire the right way, and who knows what's going on. Beware that you can cause serious damage to your car.
Yeah, inside and out. We've got a GL 500, and it's just to mention what kind of car it is. It's not that it's particularly common on these cars or anything, but it's totally. Well, it's a case of bad luck for the people responsible for it. They did an interior clean and valet, and then the AC blower stopped working in the front.
Yep.
Now on these cars, there's a connector at the back of in the front of the car, behind the carpet, in the footwell on the passenger side. And they've obviously given it a really good scrub and clean.
Yep.
And then the one thing I can say about these cars is that the blower motor, and it's not just these, I've seen it on others, but I've seen it on this particular model. The blower motors and the resistors tend to get a lot of use. Obviously, we're in a hot country, and the wiring gets very hot. The block connector melts.
What?
So
hold on. The block connector inside the dash.
So the wiring gets really, really hot.
Yeah.
So there's a connector that's in the footwell on the bottom of the A-pillar. And that connector gets very hot. The plastic starts to melt. The wires start to go brown. So it's connected. They're pushed together. A little bit of someone gets in and kicks that panel, or in this case, somebody's been in there and wet vacked and then given it a scrub. They've disturbed it. And now the AC won't work. The blower doesn't work on the front.
It's nice.
Get a fault stored in the memory saying missing message from blower resistor, something like that. Can't remember the exact wording. And then we go straight to it because we've seen it before. But I would imagine there are people that would have just changed the blower motor, that have changed the resistor.
For sure.
Because it's so common on other cars. You just change it. And
it's easy.
So, and it's unlucky. These guys are valeting cars. They're not claiming to be, nor should we expect them to be mechanics or electricians. They're not. But it's very hard from a customer's point of view to accept, well, no, it was working. You've been in my car, now it's not working. It's really bad luck on everybody's part, and it's just one of those. We try to deal with it in the case of, well, this is probably how it's happened, but it's nobody's fault.
Right.
It could have happened a week later when the kids got in the front, or you threw something onto the seat and it fell off and hit the same area, when you brake. So these things do happen. So that's, and again, it happens on the most humid day and hottest day we've had for ages.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Yeah. And then instantly your mind starts thinking, the compressor, is this a compressor issue?
Yeah,
or is this, and everyone knows that you're looking at a few thousand dirhams at that point. So
yeah, I mean, the blower motor resistor will be easily 2K. Yeah, easily.
2K.
That's just to buy the parts, yeah. Yeah, easily. I mean, the resistor in the old days used to literally be 4 coils of wire that were thicker and thinner and thinner as they went down.
Yeah, easy. Not now.
Computer now.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, there's probably more processing capacity in one of those than there was on the Challenger or something, I would guess. It's just, crazy to think, but it probably is.
Well, the Apollo spacecrafts, they're thinking it's a few switches. I still have
a lot of manual input.
There's more technology in a Texas Instruments calculator than was in those capsules. So,
so I mean, there's no way an everyday person could understand that issue, right?
This is a that big reminder. You're going to get your car cleaned and get it detailed. make sure you're getting it done by someone who knows what they're doing. And there's lots of places that have really great prices and they've got a nice slick sign, but do they really know what they're doing, or are they going to cause more harm than good? And
sometimes, there's a difference that you have to draw between people that are genuinely trying to do a good job and being unlucky, which I think in this case is the case.
It was just unlucky.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, if your job is detailing and valeting cars, whichever word you want to use, if that's your job, then you're tasked with cleaning the carpet, bringing it back to life, making sure it doesn't smell, make sure when it goes back to the customer it's dry. Same with the seats, same with the dashboard, all this. Now, okay, you're going to be careful with the switchgear on the dashboard, especially on a car a few years old. You're going to be careful with the screen that you don't use the wrong cloth and damage it, scratch it, whatever you're going to do. Careful with the leather, use the right material.
Yeah.
Carpet's a carpet.
Yeah.
Car carpets are hardy. They're hard wearing, unless you're talking about a shag pile in a Rolls Royce. It's a hard wearing carpet.
It's just that pressure washer when they get in there.
Well, this is one of the things.
Put some plastic up. You got to, you want someone who's going to do the extra.
This is the one that I've never liked. Is when they open the door, get the pressure washer with the directed sort of jet on it, and they'll do the hinges and the door shut and the door jamb, and I don't like it. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah.
There's no reason to do that. You can do that you'll save countless problems, and it's 5 minutes to do it with a cloth.
Yeah.
A wet cloth, they're not that dirty in there anyway.
Yeah. 5 minutes.
And they're blasting the grease out of the check strap and the hinges on the doors, which is a massive issue. They'll start to knock and clunk, and that is an expensive repair when you start talking about sorting hinges out. And then you've also got the fact that if somebody's got to replace a hinge on the door, that's not a hinge on the door in the house.
Yeah.
That's door off.
Yeah.
Then put it back on. You've got to paint them. You've then got to adjust it all up, and then you've got to repaint it because, well, you don't have to, but if you're doing the job right, where you put the tools on the nut or the bolt, whichever way around it is, you're going to rip the paint off.
Right.
You can't get in with anything soft or anything. You're getting in with a spanner.
Yeah.
So you're going to rip the paint off.
And you're going to see that every time you open the door. It's like, look at that.
Then you've got to repaint it. So it's getting painted twice. It's getting adjusted that can take an hour or two. It's taken me and DJ hours to adjust panels on cars when we've had shells off cars. Days. Yeah. A full day once doing although fair enough, that was an Austin Ely, and it was the most ridiculous idea I've ever seen. But, these things do happen. And that pressure washer blows all of the grease out, every single bit. And it's the same when people pressure wash the wheels. Getting the wheels clean, much better when the wheels are off. You're pressure washing your brakes, and they're blowing all the grease out the brakes.